Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, that staple of your Tuesday, where we turn up and answer 2 questions from listeners like you, normally relating to property. We tend to do better with those. We've got 2 great listener questions coming up today. We'll get onto those in just a sec, but first we always like to give you a quick reminder of how to send in your own question.
Yes, it remains very easy. You can go to propertyhub.net/ask and leave us a voicemail that way, or a recording. It's very simple. You just do it through your computer. Or if you're a bit old school and you want to get on the blower and leave a voicemail, you can do that too. You can call 013 808 00035 and leave a voicemail. If you mess it up, don't worry, just leave another one. It's really easy, and Mike has followed that exact process.
Hi Rob and Rob, it's Mike from Southampton, living in Merseyside. Obviously, great big thank you for all the stuff you do with Property Hub. Great source of information. I feel like I've learned quite a lot over the lockdown period. I'm 100% convinced that I want to get involved investing in property. So I'm new to the game, and step 1 is building a nice pot of money. So what would you do in my position? I'm torn between 3 directions. I'm paying overpayments off of my mortgage because I'm convinced that when I remortgage, I'll probably take some money out of the house that I've paid off. I've got my saving account, which I'm keeping topped up regularly, and I've also started buying shares as well in hope that when we go back to normal, we'll see a nice healthy increase there. But I was just wondering if there's one direction that I should be focusing on more than the rest. With the potential start of a boom cycle, would it make more sense to pay off more of my mortgage and just see that as my saving account, so to speak? What would you do? Any advice would be great. Yeah, it'd be nice to hear from you.
Mike, you're in that exciting but also slightly frustrating cash building and research stage. So what should you do? Well, this is all just opinion, of course, so take it for what it's worth and use it as just one source of ideas. But my take on it is, firstly, I don't see the benefit of overpaying your mortgage, because the plan is to overpay your mortgage and then, when you can, take some money out of that property to then invest in property. But if you didn't overpay, then you'd have the cash and you wouldn't need to take it out of the property. So personally, I wouldn't be overpaying the mortgage, and I would just be taking that cash, sticking it in a savings account and using that towards my deposit. The second thing you're doing is topping up that savings account. That is great. Definitely something to be doing. It is frustrating at the moment because there are basically no savings accounts where you can get any kind of decent amount of interest, nothing where you can even keep up with inflation. But that's just the way it is. And by having it in a savings account, you are at least not taking on any risk, which means that money is going to be there for you when you need it. So definitely keep up with that. Now, the shares. The shares are a difficult one because that, of course, is your potential way of growing your cash pot faster and actually earning a return on that money rather than having it sitting in a savings account earning next to nothing. But you are, by doing that, taking on a large amount of risk. Whatever you're investing in, and I've no idea what you're investing in, markets can do weird things all of a sudden out of nowhere, and it's completely beyond your control. So it's possible, not likely, but possible, that the entire market could suddenly drop by 30 or 40%. Does that seem like it's going to happen? Well, no, but it never does seem like it's going to happen, and then it does. And if that did happen, then you'd then be in a position where you potentially would not be able to invest in property, which is what you wanted to do in the first place, not invest in shares for the long term, because you have to wait for the value of those shares to recover and then go up as you planned, which could take potentially years. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying be mindful of the risk that you are taking. As a very, very general rule of thumb, people always say don't put money into the stock market that you're going to need within the next 5 years. Reason for that is if you were unlucky enough to put the money in and the stock market crashes tomorrow, you would hope for it to have made that up again in 5 years. And it basically gives enough time for these little gyrations to work themselves out. But if you're happy to take on that risk, then that's fine. The important thing is that you're aware of it. The main thing to do, though, I would say, is just keep those savings going. I know it's frustrating. I know it takes longer than you like, but hopefully you will also see the equity in your own home growing, even if you're not overpaying, and be able to pull some out of that as well. Maybe start sizing up the kind of properties that you want to invest in to see what your savings target is. Giving yourself a firm goal is often more motivational and helps you to save faster. Maybe speak to a broker to see what position you're going to be in terms of pulling money out of the property you've already got, and stick with it. It will take longer than you'd like it to. It is frustrating, but it will be worth it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Rob. Let's listen to our next question.
Hi, Rob and Rob. Thank you so much for running your podcast and for taking this question. My question to you is that my boyfriend and I purchased a property quite a few years ago out in Cash, in Nottingham actually, and it has now risen in value over the years. And we wanted to look at taking some of that money back out. Now, the first sort of approach that springs to mind is taking out a mortgage where obviously there wasn't one previously. Now, the only problem is that we both are quite low in our credit scores, and we would have to look for a specialist mortgage provider or lender, which could potentially be a little bit more expensive. Are there any other options available to us, such as investors? What does that come with? Are there any other approaches to taking money or equity out of a property that you own outright? Yeah, if you could let us know of any other options or approaches to this, would be really appreciated. Thank you.
It's an interesting challenge you've got because you're obviously in a good position from the assets that you own, but with the challenge of raising finance against them. Now, if you'd asked this question 12 months ago, it would have been difficult to answer because the mortgage market wasn't in a good place and there were very few options. But as the market is now strengthening, lenders are becoming more and more flexible because they want to take advantage of the potential business that's out there. And that flexibility is coming in all sorts of ways. So the amount of loan to value that you can raise against, the rates they're willing to lend at, and fortunately for yourself, also look at people who don't have an ideal credit report. It's going to come down to why your credit score is low. If it's just a few missteps along the way, then you might be okay. I know, for example, we've talked recently about a lender that will look at people with outstanding CCJs. So if you've got a few missed credit card payments by mistake, but they're all up to date, then you should be fine. Now, of course, with any of this advice will lead to me saying, speak to a broker. And if you get a no on the first go round, try another broker, because I've found that brokers are not created equal, and some will just want the easy work and others will dig deeper to find a solution. So don't give up on your first attempt. Worth just saying though, if your credit score is low and you haven't had any missteps, it might be your lack of credit. There are things you can do. Often the credit score providers will give you advice on how you can increase that by taking a credit card out and paying it off in full every month, for example, is a way of increasing your score. So speak to a broker, understand your options, and do your very best to repair that score. Because for property investment, it is important. And while you may get lending at the moment, it's not going to be at the most attractive rates. So if you want the best rates in the background, work on that score as well.
Well, there you go. 2 more questions answered. That's what we like to do on Ask Rob and Rob. And we're going to be doing it all again this time next week. But don't wait till then, because on Thursday, we're going to be back with another great episode of the Property Podcast. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.